Welcome back, guys, to another exciting episode of Growing Through It, where you come to grow, heal, and get motivated one conversation at a time. I'm your host, Ryan Rosary, and today we are blessed with a very special guest, my brother and friend, Brandon McKnight.
Hey.
Now, Brandon, he is a super talented actor and streamer.
Yeah.
You might have seen him in Guillermo del Toro's The Shape of Water, the Canadian indie Morningside, or killing it on the CW's The Flash as Chester P. Runk.
Sure.
Brandon is also one of the co-founders of BDB Productions, Inc., a company that's all about bringing more diverse and meaningful stories to the screen.
Carry you around everywhere I go for an intro like that.
Thanks, man. You know, I did my little thing, did a little bit of research. Brandon, thank you so much, man. I appreciate you coming on. And it's just
Thanks for having me, man. Yeah.
How you feeling, man? How you enjoying the day, the weather outside?
The weather outside is frightful. It's really cold. I've told myself I've etched it in stone that this will be my last winter because I'm tired of this. But yeah, all around, like I'm good. I'm happy grinding away at it. You know, just life's throwing what life throws, and you know I'm bobbing and weaving and maneuvering and finding my way through just like everybody else. So for all intents and purposes, I'm good, man. I'm blessed every day. Every day. Thank you.
You look good.
Appreciate it. Been drinking my water. And my
H2O,
ginger shots. Yeah. Taking my vitamin D.
The health up. I think the last time I saw you was when you just came off the stage play of Kim's Convenience.
Oh, yeah.
Talk to me about that experience and how that was for you and like what it was like. Okay, you know, before we get into that, because you had done Kim's Convenience, the TV show, back in 2016, 17?
Something like that. It was like 2017.
Okay, and was that your first TV show credit?
That was my first TV show ever, yeah.
First TV show ever.
Yeah.
So you had done that way back, and now you just came off doing the play as one of the main characters. And you played, tell me which characters you played.
I played 4 characters. A character named Rich, a character named Mike, who's a Jamaican character, a character named Alex, who's the cop character. He's kind of like the main character that I play. Okay. And then Mr. Lee, who his entire character is kind of like the inciting incident in the play. Yeah, it's a crazy full circle moment. This go of the play, it's really weird. I feel like Inns Troy, who is the playwright, and he also plays Appa, the lead of the play. I feel like this run of it is just, it's just a very special run of the show because we're coming back in June.
Okay.
So we were on from January. Well, we started February 6th. We ended March 16th. We got extended twice, but we've been rehearsing since January 2nd. So for me, it's since January to March. But it's just it feels like the stars have kind of aligned for this play, just because like it's such a successful play. Everybody knows about it. It's already like the stars have aligned so many different times for this, for like Inns' work, as it should be, because he's such a talented writer. But everyone who's in the play has had some sort of full circle moment with the play. You know, it's back at Soul Pepper where it started. You know, it started in the Fringe Festival, but it was first put up as like a production, as a full, like, not indie play as Soul Pepper. So it came back to Soul Pepper. That's full circle. It was my first TV show, as we mentioned, and here I am again doing the play now, doing the raw and real version of what it was. Mm-hmm. Inns is now doing Appa for the second time. He started the play doing Jung, doing the son role. He got a couple gray hairs now, so now he's playing Appa.
For sure.
Kelly, who plays, I'm forgetting character names now, who plays Janet, this was her third time doing the show. Everybody's just had Ryan, who plays Jung, randomly, like there was one night where he kind of had to play like an alternate because the guy that was playing Jung out in Vancouver, I think he was sick or something like that. So Ryan like learned all the words and went up and did the play for like 2 nights, and now he's in this production of it. It's Wayne Mengesh's last. Well, it's not her last show. It's one of her last shows at Soul Pepper, you know, as the creative director. And then this time, and like it's not the first time that the play's gone on to like I think it's the first time it's doing a U.S. tour.
Oh, that's dope.
So we're going to be doing that as well. So we come back in June to July, and then we go to San Francisco, I think, end of August till October, and then we'll be touring a bunch of other cities in the States.
Wow.
So yeah, big full circle moment for that play, man. It's really crazy. It's like, it's a blessing to be a part of it all for sure. For sure.
Congratulations, man,
I
on
appreciate
the
it, man.
success of that
Thank you.
run, man. It's such a popular play and a popular show as well. Like
Yeah.
people know it. It did very well over here in Canada. Did very well in the States and like internationally. So,
Yeah.
man,
Blew up
congratulations
everywhere.
to be a part of that,
Appreciate
man.
you, man.
So
Thank you.
how does it feel being part of something so big and for the culture, especially?
Great. I mean, this is my first play since Judas Noir, which was 7 years ago, 8 years ago.
Something like that. It's been a while.
Been a
yeah.
very long time from the first time we did it, because I know you guys did it again. So
Right, yeah.
yeah,
For,
so
for context, for people listening or watching,
for sure.
we did a play called Judas Noir a while back, and Brandon was part of the original and first run. So yeah.
Yeah, it was a play based off of Last Days of Judas Iscariot that our good friend Leighton Alexander adapted and kind of modernized and made into our own thing. But yeah, so Kim's was my first play since Judas Noir, which I think was like 8 years ago or 7 years ago or whatever. And having gone through, a lot of film and like TV work and stuff like that, and then coming back to theater, the age-old saying how they're like, if you want to be rich, do TV. If you want to be famous, do film. If you want to be good, do theater. And I felt that, you know what I mean? Just because like it's just such a completely different medium in terms of like how you prepare, how you build character. It's all a collaborative effort. You know what I mean? Like you're not just pacing back and forth in your room, learning lines and building a character by yourself. You're doing it as an ensemble. You know what I mean? There are a few individual things that you do, but most of it is like everyone together. So doing that with a play like this that's so well written, and with a director like Wayne, and having the playwright in the room with you, like with Inns, who's also in the play with you, and you're sharing scenes with this person who knows these words, and seeing him discover things in his own words that he hadn't discovered before, you know what I mean? Because everything changes depending on who you plug in to the characters and stuff like that. So there's a very eye-opening experience. Like I was in that shit feeling like, I don't know if I can cuss.
No, please. Man,
I was in
man.
that shit and feeling like, if I do a play a year, you're not stop. Like throw me all the auditions, I'm ready. And I do feel very like the joints are oiled. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
The gears are oiled. Like I feel very loose and fluid. It's like it was very much so. It sounds so not pretentious, but it sounds so dramatic to be like a life-changing experience. But really, it was. It reminded me like what acting was, and like how to have fun with it, and how to like be alive with it. And you really got to be moment to moment, and you really got to moment to moment because you're on stage, and the play isn't going to wait for you. You know what I mean? In film and TV, you get used to being able to like stop or being able to like go back to once and all that kind of stuff. There ain't none of that. It's like, no, you live here. Like this moment is where you live right now. And then the next moment is where you live in the next moment, like really in that. So it felt different every day. Like there wasn't a show where I didn't discover something new, which I think is incredible. And now I look for that in all the work that I do. Every word, every sentence you say has to mean something. And like, that, but like to have to practice that even when you're performing, is a trip. So it was a great experience for sure.
Man, I could see the passion, like as you were talking about it, and I've known you for 10 years.
Something like that.
About
It's
10
been a
years.
minute. Yeah.
It's been a long time. And so like just seeing you talk about it and like watching you as the artist talk about the growth and the things that you're discovering in yourself is such a beautiful progression from where you were to where you are now. Like break down to me, give me the backstory of how you got into acting, because you used to be a mechanic, if I'm not mistaken, and used to work on cars.
Yeah.
How do you go from mechanic and then now transition into, let me become an actor?
A lot of crying yourself to sleep at night. So I started acting when I was 12.
Okay.
Did my first play. We did which one came first? Yeah, we did in grade 7. My teacher, English teacher, Miss Zinn, shout out to Miss Zinn. I can blame her for why I started acting at all, to be honest with you. I owe her a lot of credit. She'll be in my Oscar speech. So she decided for one of our like assignments in English class, we were going to write a play. So all of the students came together. We basically did an award show called the Granny Awards, which was a spoof on the Grammy Awards, where all the Mother Goose and fairy tale characters were collecting awards for their stories. So I played Little Pig number 2. So all the little pigs from, what is that what is that fairy tale? The Three Little Pigs.
Three Little Pigs.
Yeah. So I was played Little Pig number 2, and the 3 of us were getting an award for engineering because they build the houses with straw and with wood and then with brick, and they're pigs. So that's where it started. I remember going out on stage to accept our award. We're probably on stage for 45 seconds. The entire play was maybe half an hour long.
Sure.
And we all wrote it together, and I got out on stage, and me and my 2 homies, Hamza and Jake, I remember their names, we decided we weren't just going to walk out like pigs. We were like, no, we're going to be dancing pigs. We're going to dance out on stage. And so I moonwalked. My homie Jake did like the worm, and I forgot what Hamza did, but we all danced our way to the podium. And like everybody was dying of laughter. And that me up. I was like, oh, what is this? What is this
validation.
feeling? Oh my! And I wasn't even expecting nothing. Like, it was just something fun for us.
Yeah.
And in our joy, though, like, it affected this entire auditorium of people that I thought I was going to be bullied by. You know what I mean? Because of, you know what I mean? Like, I'm doing a play at school. I grew up in the hood. Like, you don't do that stuff, right? And it was crazy to have that feeling. It was like getting hit by lightning, kind of. And I just remember being like, oh, I want to do that again. And everybody in the class was like, oh, that was so much fun. And all the kids in the school loved it. So they were like, we want to see it again. The principal wanted to see it again. So we did it again. And then all the kids wanted to bring their parents to see it. So then we did it again. We did the play 4 times. It was supposed to be 1 time during an assembly. And we did play 4 times. And each time it got better and better and better, at least internally how it felt. And I was like, oh, yeah, I really like this. So in grade 8, then we did a modernized version of Grease. Where I took a character. If any Grease fans would know the character Eugene, who's just this nerdy character, shows up maybe 2 or 3 times in the movie. But I took the role and we expanded on it. I was pretty much the comedic relief of the play, and that's when I really knew. I was like, oh, like, I want to do this. I really, really want to do this. But then as life went on, I kind of like, the hood just get to you. You know what I mean? I was around people who weren't really tapped into that. As basketball or, gangster shit.
That's right. That's real.
And so, like, I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm going to play basketball, which I loved and to this day love basketball. And I'm very happy that I learned the sport and played the sport. But I really ignored the passion and the acting thing for years. It wasn't until I started working at the shop. I'm saying, like, this is cut to, like, 10 years later. Like, I'm working at the shop. I think I was, like, 21 or 22. And I remember going into work one day, and I think at this point I'd been at Nissan for about like 3 or 4 years because I started when I was 18. And I was a licensed technician. I was the youngest mechanic in the shop, like making more money than every other person I knew at 21 was making and all that kind of stuff. But I remember walking into the shop and looking at everybody, and there's all these like 40, 50-year-old dudes, and like not a single one of these dudes was happy. And this is no shade to any of them, but like they would warn me. They'd be like, hey, don't do this. Like, don't do this job. If you could do something else, go be like an electrician or something. Like, don't do this job. And all these dudes were just very unhappy. And I was like, that's not the life I want. And for the guys that were happy, they just still weren't living a life that I wanted to live. So I was like, I got to do something. Like, I blew out my knee, so basketball was out of the picture. I was boxing at the time, and I was like, I don't want to do this for that. I'm not trying to get punched in my face for the rest of my life. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
like, I don't care how much money you pay me. And I was like, well, what else am I going to do? And I was like, I've always had the itch of being an actor. And I did drama for 1 year in high school and top of the class type stuff. And like, I felt really good doing it. And I was like, all right, you know what? Let me try and figure that out. So I hopped onto Craigslist I hopped onto Google just trying to figure out what actors do and how to be an actor, and looking at classes in schools and all that kind of stuff. And that road kind of just like began to expand and expand and expand. I found my first agent on Craigslist, which is why I brought it up. I'm not going to say their names. Scammed me out a lot of money. But I learned so much. I was with them for 3 years, but I learned so much from them not really being good because I wanted it so bad. So I was like, okay, cool. I learned about Mandy.com back in the day. I don't know what Mandy.com is like now, but you found out about all these like school. You could be in student films for all the film majors in school and stuff like that. You can do non-union commercials, all this kind of stuff. So like the once or twice a year I do an audition with my agency, but then I was working on all these student films, making all these friends and stuff like that, which is what eventually brought me to the Monologue Slam. Working with an actress named Tamara Duarte. I met her. I don't remember how I met her, but she brought me to the Monologue Slam. That's how I met you. That's how I met everybody else that I know. So one thing kind of just led to the other, but it all started from me just walking into the shop one day. It was literally like the next morning I woke up and was like, I'm going to be an actor. And that's kind of where it all started. That's where everything's just kind of like leveled up from there, where it's like, oh, I learned about this, learned about backstage.com and Deadline, and I would read all the articles and learn everything I needed to learn. I didn't have money to go to class or go to school and all that kind of stuff. So I was like, oh, if I'm going to do this, I really got to learn and read everything I can. I think that's also where my love for directing kind of started as well, because like I'm just reading everything that has to do with film and television. So, and even theater. So like I was even reading things about cinematography. I went out and bought a camera. I was like, everything I need to know about this life, I want to know. And yeah, that's all led me to today.
That's so
dope. That's
man.
a very long story, but yes.
No, please, man. Like, that's great, because it's like you had these guys from the shop that you were working at. You had a stable job.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with having a stable job, but you had a stable job. You were.
I would recommend everybody try to have a stable job.
100%. I'm at that point now too. Like,
Yeah.
stability. Stability's kind of.
Yeah.
But you have your stable job, but you're not feeling fulfilled, and you have guys there that are like, bro, get out of here. Like, find your passion.
Yeah.
And thank God that you were able to find that at such a young age.
Yeah.
That you were able to,
Facts.
dedicate that time and just like.
It's funny you say that. Sometimes I think about it. I'm like, oh man, I wish I. Like, I have two chips on my shoulder.
Sure.
The chip number one is I wish I started earlier.
Okay.
Like, I wish I listened to my soul and my spirit when it called to me, being like, oh, you love this.
When you say earlier, what do you mean?
Like when I was 12 or 13,
like really
you know what I
diving
mean?
Into becoming a child
At
actor.
that point in time, it wasn't something that was feasible, and I didn't really know that it was like a real job. I thought I just really wanted to do it. But it was like in high school, where I was like in high school drama class, where like my drama teacher was like, Brandon, you should do this and all that kind of shit. And I was just like, nah, like hood shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like all that, I just didn't have the mind I didn't have the capacity to even understand that it was possible. You know what I mean? And that's what a lot of people who come from like, environments like that, feel like you just don't know that stuff's actually possible for you. But there was a point in time where I did start to think. I think I read The Secret when I was like 17 or something. I was like, oh, I can do anything, but I still didn't do anything. You know what I mean? Which I don't like. Again, I'm not blaming myself or feeling sorry or regretting that. But like, if I could change one thing I would have wished I like picked it up earlier and really started going for it earlier.
And what was the second chip?
The second chip is not going to drama school. That's a chip that's going to follow me forever. Every time I say that to somebody, I've said it to people on set, I've said it to other actors, I've said it to random people, and everybody's like, well, you didn't go to school and like you still have like a career or whatever. But it's like, there's just a certain grit that I've always wanted to be in, like an acting incubator. Like this is what I'm training to, like this is what I'm doing. And I've done that myself because I've had to. But yeah, second chip is going to drama school. I wish, because I've gotten into drama schools and I just never went to them, just for financial purposes and whatnot. So, but yeah, I don't remember why I brought up the chips, but yes.
That's good, man. Now, you were talking about like being from a certain area, kind of growing up in the hood, and like I empathize with that as well. I grew up in the hood as well. When you say like you felt like kind of touching on the fact that, I'm from the hood, we don't do this. Why do you feel that is? Maybe it's not like that so much anymore now, because the world has changed. But I know I can say for a fact, even me growing up, people would look at me like, you're trying to be an actor, bro. That's not a real thing. Like, why do you think that was a thing?
I don't think that's something specific to any hood or any. I think it's a cultural thing to some degree. I think it's a socioeconomic thing. I think it's a financial thing. You know what I mean? Like when you grow up like poor or close to poor or whatever, if you don't grow up well off, like a lot of your decisions in life are based off survival. You know what I mean? Like a lot
Real.
of people got like beef with their parents because their parents wanted them to go be a doctor and all that kind of stuff. And I understand the pressures of that, but you know, especially this is the trip about growing up. You know what I mean? Like when I was younger, my mom and all the parental figures around me would always have certain things to say, and I'd be like, "You just don't get it." And it's like, "Nah, I didn't get it. Like I get where they were coming from now."
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because like if you're growing up in survival, if you're existing in survival, all your decisions are based off of surviving. You know what I mean? There's not a lot of room to be like, oh yeah, I can go spend 2 years at this school that may not amount to anything, but it's my passion. You don't really got a lot of space for passion there's no money in the bank account. You know what I mean? You got to go do what you got to do. And that's something that's bred in a lot of us. So I don't think it's anything specific to the hood. I mean, if we're going to talk about the hood at all, and there's hoods of varying degrees, you know what I mean? But if you're going to talk about that at all, like talk about survival instinct. You know what I mean? It's all about surviving when you're growing up in those environments. Both physically surviving and then also mentally and emotionally surviving, financially surviving. A lot of the reasons why the hood is the way the hood is because everybody's just trying to get through it. Everybody's just trying to survive. The reason why people go and do some of the heinous things that they do and go, you know, sell drugs or whatever, or rob or whatever they do is like they got to do it, or at least in their scope of what is possible, they got to do it. You know what I mean? Like if you're from the hood and you grew up in that and you're around a lot of violence and all that kind of stuff, you're not going to think, oh yeah, I can just go like study, go get a job and like then I can take care of my family. It's like, yeah, that's going to take about like 5 years. And it's like, oh, homie just died last week.
Right.
And then this just happened like yesterday. And then that just
Yeah.
happened. And I just got robbed this morning. I don't have 5 years. I can't, in 5 years, I'm not going to be here in 5 years.
I gotta
I got to
eat
go,
now.
I got to eat now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm starving now. You know what I mean? So a lot of it is just urgency and survival, you know? So I don't think it's anything specific to the hood. In my case, I think that I am just a weird guy. I think I'm coming to terms with that now in my life. Like, I feel like I'm just a weird dude. I think I've always been a weird dude.
Yeah.
I've always been a little off color. I've always thought differently from everybody else around me. And I'm not saying this in any arrogant way. It doesn't feel like arrogance to me at all because like a lot of my insecurities stem from that place in my life. You know what I mean? Where I just always feel like I don't fit in with anything. The way I think or the way I choose to live my life and all that kind of stuff. And I feel like that has aided my entire life. Just because like a few of my wires, like a few of my screws is loose in ways that other people's aren't. So even though I was around so many things and I saw so many things, experienced so many things that would be seen as negative, like I never considered myself to be like a victim of them, or I never considered myself to be like a part of it. You know what I mean? And I've always been really observant. I was to this day, but like when I was younger, I was such an observant kid. And so I would see people like driving in a Porsche and be like, man, how do you get that Porsche? You know what I mean? Like, what would that person do? Like, what do they do? Like, what's their house like? You know, you watch MTV Cribs and you see everybody's house like, oh, what's it actually like to be in a house like that? And all that kind of stuff. So like, I've always just asked a lot of questions, and I feel like that curiosity has brought me into places of seeing other things. And I got to give it up to my mom too. My mom was very good at I always knew that we were poor. And that's one of the observant things I picked up when I was a kid. Like, I knew we were poor, but I also knew that, like, I shouldn't let my mom know that I know we were poor because there was a guilt in that. And I know how hard she's trying to make it seem like we're not poor. So she also, like, she would also, like, just say things or, like, show me things that were more than just the area that we grew up in. You know what I mean? And I think that also aided that curiosity and stuff like that. So I've never really felt like... I've never really felt trapped by the hood, but a lot of people don't have that experience. You know what I mean? So a lot of people are stuck all the way throughout their entire life, stuck in survival. So I feel like that's where all of that kind of comes from. I feel like that's why it's difficult for people to come from one place and then go into the arts even, or like sometimes that's where people escape to, but like they don't take it any further than that because they just you can only do what you think is possible.
Right.
And if you don't know that it's possible for you or anybody around you, then like you're not really going to put a lot of eggs in that basket, you know? So yeah, another very long answer to a very simple question.
Oh, it's good, man. That's beautiful. 'Cause I just feel like I'm learning I've known you 10 years, 10 plus years, and I'm still learning so much more, just like hearing certain things and understanding like, oh man, like you're dealing with this and you've navigated that and you're overcoming this. Like there's so many people out here that were going to listen to this and they're going to say, wow, this guy came from this area or grew up this way and he's doing what he's doing. Like this is going to help so many people and touch so many people. And like that's what this whole thing's about.
Shit, I'm gonna watch it back and hope it hits me that way too, because I'm still trying to figure shit
It's
out.
here just like,
I'm like, I'm saying a lot of cool shit, but I still need to figure things out.
No, it's real, man. Overall, like I was saying, like just learning so much about you. Now, with everything that you've experienced in your life, from growing up, being in the shop, to now being like, yo, I want to just do this. Like, how do you keep yourself going? How do you keep yourself on the train? How did you keep yourself on the train from such a long period of time, from working in the shop, being from where we're from, where you come from, where I come from, same kind of area, and saying, you know what, no, I'm going to stay committed to this, especially like you said, it's a cultural thing. Sometimes it's like a belief thing where it's like, no, people from where we come from don't do this. This is not something that we do. How did you rewire your brain to say, no, I can do this?
It's so I feel like I'm still in that process of rewiring my stuff. I feel like I'm how I'm doing content and stuff like that for Instagram and all that kind of shit. So one of my topics is imposter syndrome and all that, and how important imposter syndrome is, and how feeling imposter syndrome is a great thing because it means you're leveling up. You're in a sphere or in a space that you haven't been before. That's why you feel like you're an imposter. It's proof that you're growing type thing. I don't know, like the whole tangent and rant I just went on about like feeling different and feeling like I'm a weird guy. I think that has to do a lot, me surviving and doing all this stuff and making that transition, I feel like has a lot to do with that. Either I just have a really strong survival instinct, or I just got a few screws loose. Like I wasn't joking when I was joking, but I'm not joking about like there are many a nights where you cry yourself to sleep. Like I think I've told you guys in the group this about like that. Yeah, I have, in the green basement. For those that don't know, the green basement.
Oh, the green basement.
The green basement.
Before you go on,
you
you gotta talk about the green basement.
All right,
man.
so check this out.
The green basement.
Check this out.
Y'all gotta understand, the green basement, iconic.
Hey, shout outs to my mom, bro. My mom chose that crib, and she chose not to renovate the basement, which turned out to be the best thing. So it was in my old house in Brampton, the basement of this like townhouse. No carpet. The floors had like paint stains and all that shit. Like no carpet, nothing. And the walls were like this deep, dark forest green, and not in a good way, like ugly green. Chips on the wall, holes in the wall, all this stuff. That was my room. So when we became a group, when we became friends, we would game, we would come up with ideas. We would like, that was our hub for like just us. It was like the BDB hub. Like that's where BDB started. That's where our friendships blossomed. That's where we all like played our first video games together, all the things. The green basement is the hub. I feel like it was the starting point of everything that we've been able to accomplish and like done. Like the green basement, I've been saying, I'm like, yo, let me get into some money, and I'm going back to that place and I'm grabbing that spot, and I hope they haven't renovated it. Like it's one of those places where you go back and buy your old house type shit. Like I want to do that with the green basement. And even if it's not green, or if like I moved to LA or wherever I moved to, I'm gonna like paint the basement green. Like I want that to be our hub again. But anyways, that's the green basement. So if you ever hear any man in B2B talk about the green basement, that's what my mama's house, green basement in Brampton and stuff. I honestly just think I have a few screws loose. I'm kind of dumb. I made a lot of wrong choices. And I think just surviving your choices was a big thing for me. Like there's a lot of jobs I shouldn't have quit that I did quit because they wouldn't let me go to an audition. I don't advise, but it's what I felt like I had to do. I don't think coming out of the environment and the situation that I came out of, I don't know that there's smart ways to do it. You know what I mean? I don't know that there's non-risky ways to do it. I think you have to be willing to like risk it all. And I very much so did. Like the fact that, give it up to God. The fact that like I made a career out of any of the stuff that I've done is kind of, when you look back at everything, you see all the steps that you take. It's kind of like bonkers. Like it's kind of crazy. I'm like, I don't know how any of this worked out in the way that it is, or in the way that it has. It's just betting on yourself. Like there's all the cliche things, you know what I mean? I took them verbatim and really just did them. Like the never give up on yourself and never stop and bet on yourself and invest in yourself and believe in yourself, all that kind of shit. Like I took that shit as written, like, and I just did that. And there are moments where many long stints, I was going to say moments, not moments, long stints of me hating life, of me hating myself, of me hating the way shit works, of me wanting to quit. I've had moments even now where I'm like, maybe this ain't for me. You know what I mean? Like it's an ongoing cycle. Like it's, and the thing about, like, I'm bringing it back to the imposter syndrome thing is like, I've reached a certain point in my career that a lot of people are still fighting to reach. And I'm very, very lucky and very, very grateful to have experienced the things that I've experienced. And I like, it's weird for me to say that because I also know how, like, where else I want to go. So like saying that, I'm like, oh, I'm I've accomplished all these things, but I'm like, I ain't really even started for real in the way that like I want to. But I also know how far I've come. And because I've hit this plateau, I think a big thing that I'm dealing with now is like making the choices that align with me organically and making the choices that align with my authenticity. Like, who do I actually want to be? What do I actually want to be? What do I actually want to do? Because in that journey, like when you're stuck in survival mode, you do and be who you got to be in order to survive. Whereas now I'm like, okay, I've survived, I'm alive, and I'm good. But now it's, who am I really? Like, what do I actually really want? And that's something that I struggled with during my time on The Flash and all these kind of things where I'm like, I've been thrust into this different, not the stratosphere, but this different environment where I'm around, my whole experience with actors, whereas every actor was desperate and every actor was broke and every actor was, desperate for the next job and blah, blah, blah. And now I'm thrust into this place where like everybody's good and talented and everybody's confident. And, no matter being desperate for a role is always going to be the thing of being an actor. It doesn't really matter where you go or how high you're reaching. And the insecurity, like, I don't know if you could be an actor without having certain insecurities and all that kind of stuff. But like being comfortable being an actor was foreign to me. So now thrust into this position with all these people who've been working for years and they're great at what they do. And they like, even if they don't know who they are, they're very good at standing in on the business of who they are, at least right now. You know what I mean? And I came in as this shaky guy who's just trying to like pay his rent next month. You know what I mean? I don't know where, you know what I mean? Coming in like that. And I was like, oh, I super feel like the new guy, and I am the new guy. But I like, it's not just in terms of the work. It's like in terms of like how I carry myself, I feel like an imposter around all this confidence and all this experience and prestige. And I had never been around so many people that made money before. You know what I mean? So like, even in that, like there's so much, like the growth just never stops, and the struggle just never stops. Even with Kim's Convenience, like here I am trying to prep a role, thinking that I'm this like, I've acted before and I'm good at what I do and blah 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 blah. But now I gotta get into this whole other medium with people who are seasoned in the thing and taking direction from Wayne, who's such a good director, and she sees everything. You can't really bullshit. You can't bullshit on stage. That's why it's the best place for an actor to train, right? So going through that process, even I'm like, fuck. Like there was like a good, like the first 3 weeks of rehearsal, your boy was shaky. Like I was like, oh, I feel like they made a mistake. Like, oh, I'm gonna get up there and shit the bed. Like everybody's so good, I'm f***ing this whole thing up. Like, I had a few moments where I confided in Wayne, and she was like, nah, you're gonna be fucking fantastic. And she thinks shout outs to Wayne for that. But like, I just felt, and that's just what it is. Like, at least as far as my story right now, that's just what it is. You just hit these walls and you got to accept that you hit these walls, and you just got to make a choice. Like, all right, I'm in this muddy place right now, and that's just what it is. It's going to feel like shit till it don't. You know what I mean? And it's one of the most fulfilling experiences I've ever had in my life. I feel like so much better of an actor than I am now. Like, getting used to, again, going back to the cliche things, like I follow these cliche sayings by rote, because the whole thing of like your success is on the other side of your comfort, or you have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. Like, that's a real, like, don't take that for granted. Like, you've heard it a million times, but don't take the gold out of that. Like, you got to get so comfortable with the mud and trudging through shit and stinking and being bad and just embarrassing yourself or feeling like you are. You know what I mean? You got to get so good at that and so comfortable with that. Because, like, if you ain't feeling that, I'm subscribed to the idea now where I'm like, if you're not feeling that, like, it doesn't have to be every day, but if you're not feeling like that regularly, if you're not failing regularly, fucking shit up regularly, you're probably not really challenging yourself. You're probably not really growing. You know what I mean? You got to go through the shit. And the more shit you're going through, the more growth is for you in that process, right? So I think I just subscribe to a lot of things in making the change from being a mechanic and from the hood and being an athlete and all that kind of stuff, going full blown into the arts. I think it just came from like me listening to myself, because like from 12, 13 till 21, 22, I've always had this itch. So let me just listen to that. And, it's just the payment you got to make. Like, it takes blood, sweat, and tears for real to like really elevate in anything. I don't think it's anything unique to the arts or acting. I think anything you want to do in a big way, at least, it just takes that. It takes you bleeding a little bit, not to sound morbid and whatever, but yeah. And like I said, I'm dumb earlier, but I think I just like didn't really clock the amount of weird decisions that I made. But yeah, I can't say that I understand it. I'm just pulling shit out my ass right now. Like, I'm like going back through everything. I'm like, yo, I don't know how. There's a lot of moments where like I should not have kept going. Yeah. I really, really, I would never give anyone the advice. I would never tell anybody to do the things that I did. You know what I mean? Just out of care and support for a person. But like, I was like, well, I gotta make this shit happen. So, a lot of bad decisions that turned out to be good,
Yeah, man. No, brother, like everything you're saying, it's and it's not like you said, it's not specific. It's not like specifically just to the arts. It goes to any.
If you work at McDonald's, you want to be district manager. Same struggle. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's same struggle. You want to open up your own franchise to a restaurant, or you want to open up your own Shoppers Drug Mart or your own Longo's. It's the same struggle. It doesn't matter what you want to do. Same struggle. I'm working on a couple businesses right now, and I'm like, oh, I recognize this. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Which has made me like okay with it, because I'm like, oh, I've struggled far worse than this. Like, I can start a business. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's the same. It's the same thing no matter what you're doing. No matter what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's all just making a choice.
That's great that you had those life lessons from the acting. That's now helping you transfer into other skills, like starting your own business, because you're like, oh, I dealt with the struggle here, and I dealt with the rejection here, and I dealt with the constant self-doubt, and I'm like, I'm not good enough. Oh, I know this, so I know I'm more than capable. So that's such a beautiful lesson that you were able to take from the acting and now transfer to other things. Like, it's great that you have that in your repertoire and your instrument of a human being. So now, like, I want to talk to you about the Flash, because that was your first big thing that you started to really see money. You were coming from not having money to all of a sudden being thrown into such a popular show, as well as, oh my gosh, I'm making more money than I've ever made in my life. And to top it off, now you're getting recognized and you're being seen, and people are like hitting you up on social media. What was all of that like? Talk to me about making the money, to how you even handle starting to receive a little bit of notoriety and fame.
Um, like my immediate answer is like I don't know, but I think I mean, you know me. When it comes to the fame and all that kind of shit, I don't really hold much stake in all that kind of stuff. Just because I know and I understand what it is, and this is another thing of me just being a little off color. I feel like um, the appreciation isn't for me; it's for the thing that I was on, and the story that I told on the thing. You know what I mean? Um, the people will come over to my Instagram and stuff like that, and like the people learn about me and the things that I put out there. So there is a real appreciation that some people have shared with me that they have for me, and I take that like to heart. And that, I've had some people share their stories in my DMs and stuff like that. Some kids talking about how this one kid in Belgium, I don't remember his name now, but he sent me this whole thing about how he was getting bullied in school. He was the only black kid in his school. His family moved from Nigeria to Belgium, and him seeing me on the show like meant a lot to him, and all this. He was just saying all this very beautiful, very touching stuff, and stuff like that I live for. I love that, to know that I've actually had, or something that I was lucky enough to do had an impact on it. Um, but as far as fame goes, like I've never been one. You know me, bro. If it wasn't for this, I'd still be in my crib right now. Like I don't leave the house. Like you know what I'm saying?
This
like
is true. He does not leave his house.
like
I haven't seen him in months.
I appreciate the idea of fame, but I always look at fame as like it's a form of currency. You know what I mean? And the same way money is. You know what I mean? Not that I'm out here taking it for granted. Like it's a beautiful thing to gain even the slightest bit of notoriety. And I think when used properly, it's extremely enriching and powerful. But it's not really something that I let get to my ego, so I don't really think too much about it. Even when it comes to Instagram and the following and all that stuff, of course it feels good. And of course it feels amazing to like have all these people that want to know about you and want to follow you and want to like see what you're doing and want to feel close to you and all that kind of stuff. But a lot of times it's what I represent to people, not me. You know what I'm saying? And that's the difference that I feel like a lot of people, there's a lot of people that get famous and they don't make that distinction or that discernment. And I feel like that's dangerous. And I've always said I feel very lucky that I didn't grow up in that. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people who grow up with notoriety and stuff like that. And, I'm nowhere near like famous enough to really even worry about all that. But I like the fact that I have the safeguards in my brain already to navigate that stuff, I think, in a way that at least works for me. The money now, though, that's something, you can't prep for money till you get money.
Right.
Like you very much so can. There's a lot of people who are very smart and stuff like that, but like money is something that money reveals you to yourself. You know what I mean? A lot of people talk about money. Money changes you. Money doesn't change anything. Money changes people around you, but it reveals you. Money doesn't change you; it reveals you. You start to see habits. A lot of people gain. I don't even think it's a matter of gaining confidence. You lose inhibitions when money starts coming in. As far as your spending goes, as far as your ego goes, as far as your sense of confidence goes, you know what I mean? A lot of people, it reveals all the things that you desperately want to be on the inside, whether they're healthy or not. Oftentimes they're not. So that's the biggest adjustment for me, was in questioning who I was. And, like I was saying before, like aligning myself with my authenticity is something that I really, really struggled with, because I was like, oh, like I've never been in a position in my entire life where I felt free. You know what I mean? And I'm still not free. You know what I mean? And even then, like I don't have the money that I had then, but I still wasn't free then. There were still all these personal issues and all these things going on, and that stuff never ends. But like, there's just like I think if you're self-aware enough and this isn't me like toot my own horn or anything, because like the entire thing was a struggle, but like I think you start asking yourself a lot of real questions. You start seeing how you spend money. You start seeing how you spend time. You start seeing all these things, or at least I did. Um, and it brings you to a lot of like questions about yourself and stuff like that. So I think the biggest thing for me was like, you know, even in terms of elevation, like the questions of yourself of like, oh, am I like, you'll start to have all these fears and all this guilt about spending money. And then you'll start to have all these fears about, you know, you go out with people who are used to having money. And now it's like, oh, they're doing all these things. And I'm like, oh yeah, like you see the way people talk and you see the way people act. And it's like, oh, this is a person who's not afraid of anything. Or they're not afraid of like a lot of decisions that I was making where it's like, oh, I can do this now. And then, but in the back of my head, there was like all this fearful thinking as well. But then you watch people who are doing things that they're not making decisions out of fear or out of lack. And it's like, oh, like, and that is a very vulnerable place to be in when all you're used to doing is surviving. You know what I mean? And money does that too. So you go from like, it's really weird. I'm trying to explain it in a way that's understandable, but it's multi-layered. Like you get money, and then you're around people that been had money, and you see how they don't do or say or act in a way of lack. Like they believe they're worthy of that. They believe, especially when they've been having it for a long time, they believe. So when they act, when they speak, when they do things, how they behave is all based in like, this is my life. This is what I do. Whereas me coming from a place of like not having any of that, I'm like, I'm so excited. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe it, which is a beautiful thing to be because it's really grateful. But then you also notice the difference in yourself from other people in terms of like, I'm so scared all the time. You know what I mean? Or I'm afraid to spend that. Or you know what? I've never had this, so I'm going to blow all this money on that. You know what I mean? You don't go from spending, your spending isn't, again, aligning with your authenticity. You're spending because you can now, and then regretting it later. Or you're not spending at all because you're terrified.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas real confidence exists in the in-between. It's like, do I really want that, or do I want that just because I know I can now? You know what I mean? I feel like that's where a lot of people, at least for me, for a large part of it, was not that I blew my money. I'm lucky enough I was signed with a team before I started making that money, and my money was well managed and all that kind of stuff. But there's like a nuance. There's like a middle ground where it's like the way you act when you're brand new to something is dangerous. And the way you act when you're afraid of something is dangerous. It's in the middle where you're like, oh yeah, this is just where I'm at now, which is what happens once you accept the imposter syndrome of it all, and you accept and you believe that you're worthy of being where you're at and all that kind of stuff. That's where the pocket is. You know what I mean? So it took me a while to find that pocket. I still, to some degree, feel like, you know, the surplus of money that I had at the time is not existent to the degree that it was. But I feel like I found that pocket now where it's like my attitude is caught up to where my bank account is / was. You know what I mean? So that's what I mean when I say you don't know what to do with money till you get money. Because a lot of people think it's just about being smart financially. It's like, no, money reveals a lot of shit to you if you're not used to it. If you're coming from a place where you're not used to having a lot of money, it reveals a lot about yourself if you're willing to pay attention to it. You know, so I feel like that's the change that I had to pay attention to and make.
Man, yeah, I agree with everything you were saying about the money because last year I worked on a project. Shout out Fear Street Prom Queen.
Hey, when's it coming out? May 23rd?
Hey,
May
It's gonna be
23rd?
on Netflix. I don't know if this episode's going to be released by then. Hopefully it will be.
If it is, go to your Netflix and watch
Go to
it.
your Netflix, check it out.
If it isn't, like, save that shit in your calendar.
But yeah, like I made the most money I have ever seen as an artist and as an actor and just like in general. I was like, oh, this is a lot. And I agree with you. Like, it kind of revealed certain spending habits that I had. I was like, wait, do I need this? Do I want this? Do I want to do this? Do I need to do this thing? You know, there are things in this world. Like, I took trips. I took a few trips. That was nice. I had a little bit more freedom. I didn't have to go to a job and have to work for somebody. So I had that freedom for myself, and it was like really nice. And it did reveal a lot of things about my spending habits and the way I did treat money. And I agree with you totally with what you're saying, where you feel like, yo, I'm not deserving of money, especially when you don't come from money.
It's crazy.
So when you start getting it, you're like, is this a good thing?
And it's the speed with which you get it too. It's
That's
like,
the
what do you
crazy part.
mean? Like, I remember before The Flash, like I would work 8 days. I remember I did a film. Oh my God, I'm not gonna bring it up because I don't remember his name now. But this one actor, he was talking to an older actor, and he was like, honestly, as an actor, like depending on where you're at, you just got to work 15 to 30 days a year, and you're pretty much above the median income
Facts.
for most people, especially in Canada. You know what I mean? And I was like, that trips me out. So like the speed with which it comes and with which you come by it, it's like, this doesn't feel right. Like, you know what I mean? But that's how money works. Like when you've been grinding at something for years and years, like it's like you all the tears, all the blood, all the sweat, all the rocking back and forth. That's what I was alluding to in the green basement. I told you guys the story and I didn't tell the story yet, but of like there was one day where I just surrendered and I was like just in the green basement, huddled up, literally curled up, knees to chest, arms around the knees, like convulsing, crying, just rocking back and forth, being like, I whatever is supposed to be is gonna be. God, like just you, Jesus, take the wheel for real. Like I was like, yo, I'm
Yo.
done trying.
Yo,
I'm
that's
done
real.
trying.
That's
You know what
real.
I mean? I've had that moment many times since then, but that was the first time in my life where I ever really surrendered to stuff. Ended up being my biggest year before The Flash too, in terms of like just everything. But yeah, like there's a lot of guilt to it. You know what I mean? Because you're making all this money, you don't feel like you deserve it, and you're making it really fast and in these large sums. But then it's also like, yo, I worked so hard for this. Like it's not by accident. It's not by accident. Like I've struggled through things that, like I said, I would not advise anybody to live life the way I was living life. Like I would not advise anybody, as a person that I care for. I could tell a stranger whatever, but if I cared about somebody, I would never advise anybody to make the decisions that I made to get to where I'm at. Not that I did anything heinous or criminal or anything like that, but like this, just silly decisions. Like you should not quit that job. Like you should not you should not spend money on that. You should not, you know what I mean? Just bad life decisions, you know? But it's like I made all those decisions. So yeah, no, like I deserve this money. And I'm at that place now where I'm like, oh, I'm super worthy of all of that. You know what I mean? And I would be able to handle it with, like I said, I found the pocket, but it's a trip.
Yeah.
It's a trip. Money is a trip.
So what did you find that it revealed in you? Because you were talking about that earlier.
A lot of it is just a lot of insecurities. A lot of insecurities. Like I've done so much therapy in my life, but it's like that shit never stops. You know what I mean? Therapy is the gym, and you got to treat it like that. Just so many deep rooted insecurities, because like it's like I've been talking about the whole imposter syndrome of it all, and just seeing the difference between people who are comfortable in that place and feeling like I wasn't. A lot of it is just not trusting decisions. A lot of it is not really, like, trying to formulate it into words. It's like it's just insecurities about like where I stand, where I sit, where, if this decision is the right decision, if that is the right thing to say, am I smart enough to be here? That was a big thing for me. Am I smart enough to be here? Am I witty enough? Am I quick? Am I funny enough? Am I good enough? You know what I mean? And money didn't reveal those things to me. It's just money was just like an extra layer of that cake. It's like the position of being on a stage that big and being around people who are so used to it. You know what I mean? And who've become so accustomed to living life at that level. And being around real, or at least what felt to me as a person who was not confident, being around real confidence. It really makes you ask yourself a lot of questions. And a lot of the questions I was asking myself was like, yeah, am I good? Am I smart enough? Am I witty enough? Am I charming enough? Am I, especially in our industry, like so much of your career weighs on that. Like how well can you talk to people?
Yeah.
Am I entertaining? Am I interesting enough to talk to? And am I interested enough in people to be, because in order to be interesting, you have to be interested in things and in people.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, am I interested enough in people? And a lot of my life, I feel like I haven't been very interested. I've always looked at people as like, life gets more complicated with people. So why would I, you know what I mean? And my life has changed, my view has changed a lot, and where I'm like, I think everybody's story is so beautiful now. You know what I mean? Even people that I don't like, I'm like, I want to know your story. I want to know why you're like that. You know what I mean? And not in a judgmental way. I'm just like, I'm so curious as to how people become who they are. You know what I mean? Because, you know, I look back at my life now and I'm like, oh, all these crazy, dumb decisions that I made, but also beautiful things and that's all led me here. So I'm like, oh, everything that a person says, I'm like, what brought you to those statements and that belief and that perspective? Yeah. That's really where it all kind of comes from. Yeah.
Brandon, man, thank you so much for just coming on and sharing your story, sharing your journey.
I feel like I just talked my whole way through this whole thing.
No, man, that's what it is, man. There's so many gems in there, and whoever does listen to this is just gonna be like, wow, like I got a lot. I learned a lot about you. They learned a lot about themselves. They're gonna hear things like, oh man, if he can do it, so can I, man.
Hey, that's facts.
Like, it's beautiful.
That's very
man.
facts.
That's such
Ain't
a
nothing special
thing.
about me.
Brandon, I like to end off every single episode with big 3 questions. These are questions that I think about on a regular basis. So I'm going to leave these questions with you.
Cool.
Question.
Do I answer them or do I just like
No,
leave with them?
I want you to answer them.
Oh, okay,
please.
word.
Yeah. All right. So question number 1. If you could have any superpower, what would it be and why?
You can't ask a nerd this kind of question, dog. You know I'm going to go deep dive. You thought every other answer was long? I could spend a day talking about this shit.
All right,
I'll try to condense it. Bro. I mean, the obvious answer, I'm not going to do the obvious. I'm going to get real with it. Look, aligning with our authenticity, gravity. I would love to be able, I think the ability to manipulate and control gravity, kind of in the same way of like Magneto. His is a little more specific. I would want something a little more broad. Being able to manipulate and control gravity without bounds, I think would make you in the comic book sense of it all, in the superhero sense of it all, I'm like, you're a god at that point. You know what I mean? I'm like, if you know anything about physics, you know anything about the universe, everything is governed by gravity. It's the one, well, not the one thing. There's many things we don't know, but it's the one thing that we feel it and experience every day of our lives, but we still don't fully understand it. You know what I mean? Being able to warp, gravity, 100%.
Gravity's a good one. But
Gravitron.
Why?
I didn't know what my name would be.
Why gravity though?
Because of that, just because I think it's extremely overpowered. Like gravity is OD. Like you have that, and like it gives you access to all these other powers. You can fly now. You can warp reality now. You can do all these things. So. And I like the idea of being a person that has a lot of gravity around them. You know what I mean? You look at everybody who you're inspired by, even in just the metaphysical sense of it, got a lot of gravity around them. A lot of things happen around them. I like the idea of like I said, I don't leave my house. So I like the idea of people coming to my abode, you know what I mean? And then being able to care for people and take care of people. I like having people in my space, you know what I mean? And being able to like give to people in that way. So gravity.
That's a good one. I like that one.
I just made up all that metaphysical shit at the end, but like that's really
like,
what
it is.
Like connecting the two. Like that's how I feel about a lot of things. Yeah.
What is one piece of advice that you would give your younger self?
Yeah, bro. Don't quit that. Yeah, for real. Don't do that, bro. Like, stop it. Don't listen to everybody, I think is what I would say. Like, you are enough. You are good enough. Don't worry about what that person says or what that person thinks. You got it. Like, you got it, man. Like, Wayne Mengesha, at the beginning of our play, she did this thing where everybody brings an item that they feel represents something, and we keep the items on stage. So if you ever saw the play,
that's cool.
Our items were hidden on stage somewhere. My item was a picture of myself when I was 12, because that's when I started acting. And the day I wish there was like a time travel thing in real life, because the way I want to just like speak some life into that 12-year-old little boy Brandon, he was just so shy and believed so little of himself, felt so different, felt big, but believed what everyone else said, believed the way his environment made him feel and all that kind of stuff. So I would just go and speak some life into him and be like, yo, you're good enough. You got it. It's all going to be good. You are enough. You got it. Just trust you. You know what I'm saying? Don't think that because this person's older, they know what the fuck they're talking about. Trust you. And yeah, I think that's what I would tell myself.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Last question.
Mm-hmm.
What is one goal that you would like to accomplish within the next 6 months?
I would love to finish. I haven't directed in a really long time, so I'm writing a couple things right now, but the main thing that I'm writing right now is a short horror film. I'm a big fan of horror movies, so I want to direct. I want to have at least have like in production or pre-production my next short film called Pray for Father. Watch out for that. Or I'm in this thing, like I said, the struggle always starts. The struggle never always starts. The struggle never ends. I would love to do it again, where like I'm a regular on the show again, or I'm a lead on something. I've been really trying to manifest a lead or a leading type position in a film or a show. I got that a little bit in the play, but I just want to do it again. I did it once. I want to do it again. So it's one of those two things for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brandon, please plug yourself. Where can people find you? What you got going on? Shameless plug, baby.
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Mr. McKnight on Insta. I don't really be on TikTok too crazy, but you can find me on TikTok too under the same tag. And that's it, really. That's all I got to plug.
All right.
Yeah.
Hey, Brandon, thank you again so much for jumping onto my pod. I really appreciate it. Just
Appreciate
coming
you,
in,
bro.
talking about this really great conversation, just having you here and learning even so much more about you.
Yeah.
Man, I appreciate it deeply.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. If you've made it this far, I hope you guys enjoyed the conversation. Just remember, the only way to grow through it is to go through it.